Welcome to Been There, Learned That. This is the podcast for leaders devoted to Jesus, their families, and the pursuit of meaningful work. As a life and leadership coach with decades of experience in church, nonprofit, and corporate settings, I am passionate about supporting others. Join me right here every week to gain clarity, confidence, and sustainable strategies to help you break free from behavior patterns that are hindering your leadership. Imagine having authentic energy for your life. It is entirely possible, and it all starts right here. Let's get started. Well, hi friends. Welcome back to Been There, Learned That. I'm your host, Dana Byers, and today's episode is going to be a little bit different. So if you've never joined us before, this might seem typical to you, but it's really not. Today, I'm actually going to take you behind the scenes of my business, Dana Byers Coaching, share some reflections with you, and talk about where I'm headed next. And I'm going to do this by sharing behind the scenes details, but also giving you some insights that I trust are going to help you as you think ahead to the next year. I've got a coaching question for you to consider. And then, of course, next week, I'm going to follow up with some more information on how you can be intentional about the coming year. So first, I'm going to go and share with you what I've been looking at as the year comes to a close. And then, of course, like I said, next week, we'll be diving more into an even more personal approach for you. So as this year comes to a close, I've been asking myself a very powerful coaching question I learned. The question is this: am I willing to sign up for more of the same? It's a question that I encourage all of my clients to ask when they are feeling stuck or when they're contemplating a change. My answer, after much thought, really the last 4 to 6 months about this, my answer is no. I'm not willing to sign up for more of the same, at least the way things have been going and how I lead my business this last year. And while I have loved so much about running Dana Byers Coaching over the last 3 years, there are aspects of my business that no longer align with how I want to serve or show up, or how I want to connect or grow with people and how I want to grow myself. So today I'm going to share some statistics about my business, why I'm stepping away from some certain things, and what's next for me as I move into the new year. So my hope is that this episode not only keeps you in the loop, but also inspires you to reflect on your own journey as you ask yourself the question, am I willing to sign up for more of the same? So first, I want to reflect a little bit on my business journey. And I just want to share about what the last, I guess, 3 years have looked like for my business. I've had the privilege of working with an amazing number of clients during this time. I've been able to complete what is considered the gold standard of coaching certifications, fulfilling hundreds of coaching hours, sitting through intense verbal and written exams. Over these last couple years, I have supported a lot of amazing people, my clients who have been on incredible journeys, sitting kind of in the passenger seat while they're driving in their journey to help them to increase their confidence, their purpose, their clarity, to make decisions, to draw closer to God, to improve their relationships. And those of you who've hired me have really helped contribute directly a lot of generous funds to organizations that empower women and girls, and that is my heart. So I love that that's been happening. I also created this podcast, Been There, Learned That, which has allowed me to share some insights, some tools, experiences, and encouragement with an audience that I care deeply about. More than 5,000 of you have been listening to my episodes at this point in time that I'm recording it. That number is growing. I love that. And the clients and podcast listeners that I've been able to engage with over the last few years have reached out to me directly just to say that they have had breakthroughs or that things have changed in their lives because of what I've been able to share with them or the coaching that I've provided. So these are milestones that I'm incredibly proud of. I'm incredibly grateful for. I love that God's given me the opportunity to engage this way with people. Coaching has been one of the most rewarding experiences of my life. So seeing clients, seeing friends and loved ones and family, seeing them achieve breakthroughs will always be one of my greatest joys. Simply put, I'm a better listener, a better wife, mom, friend, because of the intense investment and commitment that I've made to running this business. So all that I want to share with you is really from a place of gratitude. I just want to invite you into this kind of self-awareness journey I've been on, because I think it's important for coaches and leaders to be vulnerable. I think it's important for us to remind you how human we are. I would be failing if I showed up here every week and told you how to do things, told you I had done it perfectly, and told you that I hadn't done anything wrong. That's an absolute lie. Instead, my intent is to show up and tell you that a lot of great things are happening, but I still haven't gotten it right. That's me being human. That's me leading the way I want to be led. So that's what this episode is about. There have been some amazing milestones these last 3 years, but there's also been some challenges too. I have spent countless hours on Zoom. I could probably go back and look at my calendar and add that up, but I honestly don't want to know. I really do not want to know how many hours I've spent on video calls, because while, I believe virtual coaching is effective, but I found that it doesn't energize me in the same way that face-to-face interactions do. And I have also discovered that a lot of times we can have quicker breakthroughs if I'm in person with an individual for a longer period of time, because they're just more invested in being there. That's not always true. That's just an occasional observation that I've made. And also there's been this new podcast that I created a little over a year ago. Producing this podcast has been really fulfilling. But the truth is, it's also felt very much like a one-way conversation. This is me in my office talking to a microphone and a blank screen. There's no dialogue, there's no connection, there's no eye contact, and those are things that I really thrive on. So I really appreciate, and it means a lot to me, that you might be listening to me right now as you drive to work or while you're doing dishes or something like that. And I love that. I want to engage in your life in any way you'll let me. But I also feel like I'm missing out because you and I don't get to connect personally. And that's just where I'm at. So these realizations brought me back to that coaching question. Am I willing to sign up for more of the same? And as much as I love this work that I've been able to be part of so far, my answer is no. So I want to talk a little bit about why I'm saying no to more of the same in the coming year. And to be really clear, I just don't see a future for my coaching business as far as the way things stand today. So let's talk about why I'm stepping away from certain aspects of my work. And that is because, first, I'm not getting to interact enough with people face to face. I miss the energy, the depth, and the connection that comes from being in the same room with someone, whether that's one-on-one or in a group setting, whether I'm leading a whole company or leading a team or part of a behind-the-scenes team. None of that really matters to me as far as getting to engage and be in the trenches with people in person. And second, I'm not really serving as many clients as I'd like to. The purpose of this business, while to stay afloat financially, for the business to be able to support itself, the primary purpose, when I look back to 3.5 years ago when I started out, was to really impact a lot of clients' lives. So the number of hours I've been spending to try to engage clients is really outweighing the time I'm getting to spend with current clients. So I'm not being able to influence, impact, serve as many people as I'd like to. And I want to expand my reach in a way that feels personal and impactful when I do get to serve people through the art of coaching. And then finally, while, as I said, I truly do love producing this Been There, Learn That podcast, it's essentially a one-way conversation. There's no back and forth. There's no immediate feedback. There's really no chance to connect in real time. And for me, that connection is everything. So this isn't about abandoning the things I love, but it's about realigning my work and how I spend my days with what fills me up and allows me to make the greatest impact, but also to do that in a way that provides energy to my life, physical, spiritual, mental, emotional energy, so that I can show up and serve in the best way I can. So I'm going to share with you a couple of specific statistics that kind of identify some of the determining factors that have contributed. Not only, of course, there's the way I feel and my observations, but I also think data is important to consider. So I want to share with you a couple statistics that have helped me identify and get to this point of just saying, you know what? Okay, God, I can see that things aren't working. This isn't what I had in mind when I started 3.5 or so years ago. But in the past few years, out of all the hours I've worked, which some weeks have been full-time, some weeks have not been, but in my working hours, my revenue, again, that's money brought in, not necessarily my earnings, but my revenue has been about $8.81 an hour. I want you to think about that for a second. I've had people say to me, you really need to charge less, or, you really need to charge more. People on both sides of that, of that fence, of that argument. It really doesn't matter to me where someone might stand on that so much as just looking at the data of the time investment and recognizing I could be volunteering somewhere essentially for free and maybe having more of an impact than I am by running the business. And that would be an alignment, perhaps, of my values, maybe even more so than being home alone in an office, shut up here for hours a day, trying to engage people in the way that I have been. So revenue has been $8.81 for working hours. My personal earnings over the last 3 or so years have been 18 cents an hour. When I figured that out, I was like, wait, is that even right? I said it to my husband and I was like, this is nuts. Not because, again, the reason it hasn't bothered me is because the goal hasn't been to, try to get rich off this business, but to realize that the impact that I've been able to have has been really exciting, but I'm not making the impact I would like to, not making the connections I would like to. And then the remainder of my earnings, or actually not my direct earnings, not my salary, but the revenue, the remainder of the revenue have paid for my coaching certification, the personal coaches that I have hired, which are anywhere from about $250 to $1,000 a month. Those are coaches who may or may not even have the same certifications I do, but who charge more money than I do, but I'm happy to hire them because I want to work directly with them. The remainder of the revenue has also gone towards paying contractors who help me produce the podcast and do some social media, work on my website, help with marketing. That's been anywhere from $300 to $1,000 a month. And then all the software that I use for various things in total costs about $3,000 to maybe $3,500 a year. So that's just some behind the scenes numbers to give you a sense of where things are going. Now, I have a business degree. I actually have a finance degree. I completely know how to run a business, but I'm also doing something that is a passion of mine. So because I am holding myself to only be accountable to what I think is necessary, I've been completely content not having those paychecks and instead letting the business pay for me to get coached, but also letting the business support itself and inviting other people in to support me in hopefully expanding the number of people I can reach and serve. But that's just not happening. So one approach that I like to take with my clients when they're trying to look at something objectively, such as their job, a relationship, or a decision, is to ask them 3 questions. So I went through these 3 questions personally and used them to look at my business. I did a little bit of self-coaching. So here are the 3 questions. What's working? What's not working? And what could I do differently? So that first question, I think it's important to start with what's working. Start with that first. We don't want to start from a point of negativity. I've already given you some stats that let you know maybe things aren't amazing. Things are not falling apart. There's plenty of money in Dana Byers Coaching business account. There's money there to keep going for the next year, even if I don't really change anything. But I really want to take a look at where I'm at right now so that I can step back holistically in my life and say, okay, God, what are you showing me as I look at these questions as objectively as I can? Now, it's difficult to be objective, I'll admit, because I love coaching. I love this business. I so enjoy getting to connect with the amazing clients I've worked with. But I also need to step back and be realistic, because if God is going to show me something at this point in time before I head into the next year, my eyes are peeled. My ears are open. I care more about what He has in mind than on staying on the exact path that I've been on. And I think the same is true for you. So we start with what's working, the positive things. And for me, with Dana Byers Coaching, what's working is my clients get results, period. I have been so blessed to partner with amazing leaders these last few years. They have left me a lot of generous reviews, raving reviews. I am moving forward into the next year knowing that I've become a great coach who can consistently show up and help people get results. I can help them reach goals. I can help them have a different perspective. I can help them change habits. And it's not me directly, it's God working through me. And it's because people have hired me who are willing, open, ready, and interested in changing. So this means a lot to me to know that that's been working, because in my previous careers, I was a case manager, a pastor, a corporate trainer, been other things in those roles and those titles. And all of those experiences prepared me to launch Dana Byers Coaching. So with that awareness, I know that I lose absolutely nothing if I move forward, because this coaching skill in my experience will remain. I don't lose it if I surrender that to God. So that's one thing that's working. The next question is, what's not working? And I want to be honest here and just say, I think based upon statistics that I've looked at and some of my contractors have looked at, people are loving my podcast episodes. They read my emails. The people on my email list, the plenty of people open them. I have a great click-through rate. But data shows that most of the people I've connected with so far aren't interested in hiring me. And it could be for a number of reasons. They may not be willing to pay my coaching fees. They may not think coaching is for them. They might be nervous about engaging in a coaching relationship, whatever that looks like. But they will consistently read my emails and listen to my free podcast episodes. So that's where a disconnect is in my business. Also something that I would say it was working for a long time, it's not working anymore, was that I didn't pay myself directly for a long time. I didn't, lose sleep over that. It wasn't really bothering me, but I did hit a point earlier this year where I started thinking, I think it's time that I start paying myself beyond letting the revenue pay for my coach. I wanted to see money come into my personal bank account from the revenue just to feel that I had more skin in the game than I did. So that was something that worked for a while, but quit working earlier this year. Something else that really wasn't working, and this is interesting to me. I want to point out to you some things I've tried that I was very excited to try, and I'm glad I tried them, but I hired people to help me with my social media and my marketing, and they weren't really able to move the needle at all. I didn't see clients come in. I didn't see an increase in many things at all. All of the statistics and metrics that we were tracking just didn't grow. And one of these contractors, in fact, he basically fired himself to me because he said, the service I'm providing you works for all of my other clients. It's just not working in your business. I don't understand why, but I don't think I can help you. And that was a real head scratcher for both of us, to be completely honest. But I do trust that was part of a journey I needed to be on, to recognize that it probably wasn't bad or wrong, the approach that he was leading me towards, but it just wasn't having an impact. And he was surprised by it. I was surprised by it. Was it a lost investment? Maybe, but I certainly learned a lot from that. And then the third question is, what would I do differently? And this question has been very interesting for me to consider, because behind the scenes, there have been a number of points in my business over the last 3.5 years where I have paused and God's gotten my attention by something that's happened. Not necessarily bad or negative things, but he's just speaking to me, and I realize I'm at a crossroads. I could continue or I could stop and pursue another path. Most of the time, I felt very confident continuing on the path with my business, but there was one point about 18 months ago where maybe what I would do differently is maybe I would have stopped at that point when I considered it looking back. Honestly, I'm really glad I didn't, because I've had so much fun and I've been able to meet more people. I wouldn't have started the podcast if I had stopped 18 months ago, but strategically, if I were a business strategist, if I were a consultant looking at data over time, I think if I could remove the emotion from the decision and somehow kind of separate my love for coaching and my love for what I've been doing with what's practically happening, I think it might have been a simpler path. At the very least, it would have been simpler to do that differently, to let that fork in the road be the fork in the road and step back and say, okay, God, I'm inviting you in to show me if I need to completely close the doors or do something different. But I will say, while I love the idea of that, maybe I would have consulted myself to do that, I have to admit, I'm a generally intense person. And when that moment came 18 months ago, I made the decision to really dive in all the more at that point. So I can honestly say that maybe even if I can't say, I guess, that I would have done it differently, but maybe if I were a different person, that would have been a better path. I am thankful that I leaned in more and took the approach I did because I'm not, necessarily burned out. I'm just understanding even more that things aren't heading in the direction I'd hoped they would. So all that to say, I want to talk about what's next for me and my business. Well, moving forward, I don't see a clear future for my coaching business. Selfishly, I want to steamroll ahead. I want to try to keep making things work. When I say to you that the thought of not trying all the ideas I have, it's basically like, I can't think of a better way to explain it than like being very hungry and looking at a beautiful buffet of food. I love the idea of trying more and more and more to just keep going. I love trying new approaches, but I also have to admit that is keeping me from being willing to admit that nothing is really clicking yet. Just haven't found a fit. And I know that I can help people get solid results as their coach, but the business model and the coaching industry aren't exactly a win for me. Things just aren't fitting. So what's next is I'm shifting my focus to more in-person living and ministry. This is where my heart is, connecting with people face to face, creating real-time dialogue, diving deep into that type of work, which matters most to me. Because the more I'm on Zoom or in my home office, the less willing I've noticed I am to leave my house. And that's actually created a dynamic that I'm unwilling to continue. So I can't say confidently at this point that I will continue pursuing my business, but here's what I can say with confidence. What's next for me is finding out what's next for me. God might resurrect things to work in a whole new way in this business that I've never considered, or He may give me a different opportunity to use these gifts and experiences I have. I truly don't know yet, and the older I get, I'm much more comfortable saying, I just don't know, because I don't know yet. I do believe there will come a time where I am confident and clear in what my next steps are. And frankly, recording this episode is my leap of faith in showing God how much more I want to live out His plan than I do my own short-sighted business plan. I have thought about recording this episode a few times. I have recorded other episodes ahead of this. I am moving this one forward to the front of the queue because it's an act of faith to say to you and to say to God, I know you're trying to show me something. I don't know what it is, but I know that you are good. God, you have never not shown me your plans when I step back, when I surrender, when I trust, and I believe that will happen again. So, for months now, I've been asking God to make things clear to me so that I can step away if He wants me to do something else. But the truth is, He's been silent. I've heard from God about other things. I'm not hearing from Him about my business. And so as someone in your life who's taking a seat at your table, not just in areas of career and personal life, but also in spiritual life, I am recording this episode as an example to you. I realized not too long ago that I believe God will meet me in the void. If you're not hearing from God, let there be silence. Accept it. In fact, if you can, create a greater amount of silence in your life. Step into the void of the unknown. For me, that's the void of letting go of trying to make my business grow. And it's a place where I'm trying to be surrendered to letting each day unfold as He wills instead of how I will until the path becomes clear. So I kind of have to shift gears a bit to step back from my usual desire to lean in, try things, do more, engage, lock my horns in more tightly. That's not what this season is asking me to do. And the incredible thing is, because we follow such a loving God, I could actually just keep pressing in. In fact, that's what I've been doing. But now it's an opportunity for me to step back and to share with you that I'm stepping back just to see what He does. I think He is going to be clear. in His time. And as far as the podcast goes, at this point in time, I don't think Been There, Learned That is going to go anywhere just yet. I plan on continuing to produce episodes as long as I'm available and engaged, because there is so much I want to share that I've experienced, so many things I've learned in the hopes of serving others and saving you from wasted time, saving you from pain in your personal life and your generosity and your work life and your spiritual life. But I want to be completely transparent here and just say that I'm surrendering this podcast too. I have no need to build a brand. I have no desire to, build a brand or create a platform just for the sake of creating it. There's no purpose or value in that for me. So if my pursuit for local engagement and ministry eventually eclipses my commitment to showing up here and speaking into a microphone every week, then so be it. So stay tuned. I know God will give me more clarity on that as well. So before I wrap up today, this wouldn't be a proper Been There, Learned That episode without me taking a moment to share some of the lessons I'm learning and, quite honestly, relearning. Some of the lessons I'm learning and relearning through this process of reflection, change, and surrender heading into the new year. Lesson 1, it's okay to pivot. If something isn't serving you or aligning with your values, it is worth re-evaluating. Lesson 2, saying no to more of the same in the year ahead creates space for new opportunities. It can be so hard to let go of what feels familiar, the things you're good at, the things you love and care about. But growth often requires us to step into the unknown. And lesson 3, like any good coach, I'm going to tell you that I firmly believe that reflection is powerful. Give yourself time to think. Let God speak. Listen to your thoughts, asking yourself, am I willing to sign up for more of the same in the next year? That has been a game changer for me, and I hope it inspires you to ask the same question in your life. So, what about you, friend? As you head into the new year, I challenge you to reflect on your own journey. Ask yourself, am I willing to sign up for more of the same? If the answer is no, whether that's at work, in your personal life, in your friendships, how you engage with family, it could be any area of your life. But if the answer is no, that you don't want to sign up for more of the same next year, what changes do you need to make to feel more aligned, more fulfilled, intentional, and energized? Thank you for being part of this journey with me. Your support means the world, and I'm excited for what's ahead. I am full of faith. I trust God is in this, and I trust God is with you. He's in your journey as well. He's going to support me as I take this leap of faith into the unknown next year, and He's going to support you as well. So until next time, keep growing, keep reflecting, and keep stepping boldly into what is next. I am right out there with you, and trust me, if I can do this, you can too. You've got this, and God has got you.